Thank you for tuning in to the Keeping It Real with KC podcast, a no judgment zone podcast that covers lifestyle, entertainment, news, and sports. Even though KC doesn't watch sports, but these are minor details. By the way, he reads tarot cards too. Yes, I really mean it. He reads tarot cards too. And now, the host you've tuned in for, KC Phoenix.
Welcome back to the Keeping It Real with KC podcast. I, of course, am your host, KC Phoenix. Here we are. Why am I doing this story? Okay. Man, let me tell you, I did not plan on doing this story. I actually planned on doing 2 daily thoughts today. And I kid you not, the stories, I have like these alerts on my phone where the news stories come across. And I had seen several stories that were coming across and I'm like, nope, don't want to do those. Yeah, I might do that one later. But then this story came across and I was like, yeah, we're going to do this one. So I'm doing this story today, this episode. Let me go ahead and jump into this. Before I go any further, KIRWKC.com, main podcasting platform. This podcast is carried on Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Overcast, Bullhorn, Amazon Music, Audible, and several other podcasting platforms. Please feel free to listen to this podcast on whatever platform is most convenient for you. KIRWKC on all the social media platforms. Now let's talk about this nun that is spending the elementary school's money. Or not spending, spent. That is spent because the money's gone. The elementary school's money. So, title of the article: Elderly nun sentenced to prison for gambling away elementary school's funds. Oh boy, let's just scroll on down here. A disgraced nun who stole hundreds of thousands of dollars from a Los Angeles Catholic elementary school and went on Vegas gambling sprees will be reciting her penance from inside a federal prison cell. Sister Mary Margaret Crepper of Los Angeles was sentenced Monday to 1 year and 1 day for fraud. 1 year and 1 day. Oh, make it make sense. 1 year and one. What's the extra day for? Just in case she couldn't figure something out for the year? Oh boy. Whatever. Was sentenced Monday to 1 year and 1 day for fraud and money laundering charges. The 80-year-old nun also was ordered to pay a total of $825,338.57 in restitution for the money she embezzled while she was principal at St. James Catholic School in Torrance, California. Prosecutors said Crepper, who was the school's principal for 28 years, diverted funds to pay for expenses that her order, the Sisters of St. Joseph of Carondelet, I believe I said that right, Carondelet, that almost sounds French. I was about to say Spanish, but it actually almost sounds French. Would never have approved, including large gambling expenses from casino trips and credit card charges she made from 2008 to September 2018. Crepper, who apologized to the community during Monday's sentencing, also made a Hail Mary plea to the judge for leniency. I have sinned, I have broken the law, and I have no excuses, Crepper said during Monday's hearing, according to the LA Times. Assistant U.S. Attorney Panam Kumar told the Post that the wayward nun took frequent gambling trips to Las Vegas, Lake Tahoe, Temecula, and other locations throughout Southern California. Crepper even took fellow nuns on some of those excursions and spent thousands of elementary school's money. Kumar said, One of the things she said when she was first confronted by the LA Archdiocese, and even before law enforcement got involved, was she did it in part because she believes priests get paid better than nuns, Kumar told the Post. While Crepper spent the school's funds on gambling trips, the former principal continued to ask parents to donate more money to the school on top of their $6,000 annual tuition. You would think that that would be more. I don't know. And by the way, the heat just came on, central heat. So if you hear that in the background, that's what that is. But you think that the annual tuition would be more for the school. But whatever works. This was really an abuse of position of trust, right? Kumar said. She was the principal. She was running the school that these parents had chosen to send their children to, and not just for the academics. Many of the letters I cited and many of the people who spoke talked about wanting something more from their children's education. They wanted to get a Catholic education with the morals and values that they believed in and that they lead their lives in. And that's what they were looking for in the school. So there were a considerable number of parents who were very upset and obviously feeling quite betrayed. There were parents who spoke today about how their kids are no longer affiliated with the church. Crepper pleaded guilty to the charges in July and also admitted she falsified monthly and annual reports to the school administration and told employees to cover up her fraudulent conduct. Kumar said Crepper was able to dodge detection for so many years because she would divert tuition checks and other funds to two old bank accounts that other school administrators were not aware were still being used. While other checks were being cashed properly and accounted for, the crooked nun deposited other checks in the secret bank accounts before they were even accounted for by staff. She was a hustler. All right, so she basically was able to keep them secret, and the school administration was never the wiser that there were these extra funds that she was taking, Kumar told the Post. Kumar added Crepper's scheme was revealed after the school performed an informal audit shortly after the nun announced she would be retiring as principal in 2018. It was then that Crepper started to get nervous and told two employees to destroy documents and directed them to not mention to the auditors that certain documents were missing. The employees then reported Crepper to the Monsignor of the parish, Kumar said. Prosecutors asked for a sentence of 2 years, but U.S. District Judge Otis D. Wright II said during Monday's sentencing that he also struggled to find the proper sentence for the nun. What? And even said she was one heck of a teacher. Wow. You can be proud of that, Wright said, according to the LA Times. But somewhere along the line, you just ran completely off the road. And I think you understand that. At least I hope you do. Defense attorney Mark Byrne told the Post that Crepper joined her order when she was 18 years old and had been an educator for 54 years. He said some former St. James Catholic School students even wrote letters to the judge in support of their former teacher and principal. We had a lot of letters from parents and students who knew about the fact that she had taken money, and presumably the money was taken from them, and yet they found it in their hearts to forgive her, Byrne said. They did not necessarily overlook, but asked to judge her more by her entire life rather than the theft from St. James Catholic School. But Sister Mary said that she was extremely remorseful and humbled. She broke the law, she has no excuses for it, and she took full responsibility. Byrne said the Order of the Sisters of St. Joseph of Carondelet already imposed some severe and onerous restrictions on KIRWKC. She can't leave the premises until she's given permission, and she has to tell them where she's going, and she has to be accompanied by somebody, the defense attorney told the Post. Basically, for the last 3.5 years, she's been driving her fellow sisters to doctor appointments and things like that. Okay, let me read that over again, because due to this story, it didn't sound right. Because for those who, okay, when you doctor something, that can also mean that you're doing something fraudulent too, and that's not it. She's driving her fellow sisters to doctor's appointments and things like that. So basically, she is under house arrest, which she accepts. The Archdiocese of Los Angeles officials said in a statement that school officials and others cooperated with the investigation. The Archdiocese informed authorities of the matter in 2018 when financial reviews during a change in leadership showed a substantial amount of school funds had been misappropriated for personal use by Sister Mary Margaret. During her tenure as school principal, church officials said the Archdiocese and St. James Parish and school are grateful to local and federal law enforcement agencies for their work in the investigation of this matter. We consider to offer our prayers for all impacted by this matter. KIRWKC was released under her own recognizance, but will have to turn herself in to the Federal Bureau of Prisons by June 7th to begin her 1 year and a day sentence. I'm still not over this day. 1 year and a day, like whatever. She will be under 2 years supervision when she is released, Kumar said. Okay, this is my thing. First of all, I understand on the students who wrote on her behalf, the parents who wrote on her behalf. I'm with the prosecutors on this one. I really, really am. Only because it happened for a long... If it had been something that happened for, let's say, 5 years, or, 2 years, 5 years, or whatever, this happened for over a decade. So if you do it, let's just take a decade and do it that way. You're looking at, hold on, I'm doing some math here in my head. Just bear with me here. I'm trying to think. Let me break it down this way. Yeah, 4.8 months, because 2 years is 24 months. So even less than that. That's 2.4 months, give or take. So about 2 months for every year that you did it on that level. But you did this for over a decade. I think that's reasonable. The judge is talking about, oh, well, she's remorseful. There's a lot of people who are remorseful about things, but that doesn't resolve the situation. I'm not saying throw the book at her. I'm not saying that, because in some situations, and honestly, quiet as is kept, I believe that if she wasn't a nun, she would have got 5 years or something like that. Because think about it. If there was someone else, let's say that let me put it like this. If you worked at an investment firm and you did what she did, you were embezzling money, you were doing all this other stuff. Or, as a matter of fact, Bernie Madoff, that just came to mind. Thank you. Bernie Madoff. So if Bernie Madoff was remorseful about what he did with this Ponzi scheme, because that's basically what this was. And yeah, you can say, some people could say on Bernie Madoff's behalf that he actually made some people rich, because even though it was a Ponzi scheme, some people made money. That's how he was able to get more money and do that. And if some people got out early, they could be like, oh, well, I made money with Bernie. Bernie was good. Bernie's a great guy. That type of thing. But The judge was not trying to hear that because Bernie still defrauded people out of their money. And with her situation, not only was she spending the money, she was asking for more donations. This was a Ponzi scheme. She was asking the parents, hey, can you donate a little bit more? Wink, wink. So I think 2 years was reasonable. If I was the judge, I would have given her 2 years. Now, I wouldn't have given her 5 years or anything like that. Because, you know, again, she's a nun. I would cut a little bit of slack with that. Plus, she's kind of under house arrest anyway with them, which I don't even know how they can do that. That's something, like, I understand she's part of the, I don't want to say the order or something. It makes it sound like a cult, even though it could be in certain people's eyes. But I don't know how they have the authority to do that. To say, oh, well, if you go somewhere, we're sending someone with you. The only thing that you can do is what we tell you to do. Like, this isn't the military. What? Make it make sense. I have so many questions. Another question that's on my mind too, and I'm gonna wrap this up because I got other things to do. Another question that's on my mind too. With all of these trips going to these casinos, one thing I may have taken into account if I was a judge is if she donated money back to the school. Because I feel like she had to win something. Part of me feels like she's sitting on some money and she didn't tell anybody. I mean, yes, she has to pay restitution. But this went on for over a decade. So you're telling me that she didn't at least hit a nice little jackpot once out of all of that? I know the house usually always wins. But when you play for a long period of time, and clearly she's a numbers person, because with the embezzling and everything else, she knows how the game goes. This doesn't seem like a lady that's a novice when it comes to gambling and dealing with numbers, where I feel like she's the person that comes to the card table or goes to whatever in a casino where they think they're about to take her money and she ends up taking their money. Just saying. But on that, if she won any money, did she donate it back to the church? If she did that, then yes, that would be something where I would let that be a contributing or determining factor in regards to a lighter sentence. Just saying. Like I said, again, this is why you can't put people up on pedestals, because you just never know. I'm not judging, because again, this is a no judgment zone, and who am I to judge? Who is anybody to judge? I will have an opinion though, and my opinion is this: the 2 years would have been appropriate. That's what I believe. The 2 years would have been appropriate. Just saying, because if it would have been anyone else with anything else related outside of this situation, or let's say it was just a regular school principal that did it with the at a public school, a regular, federal government federal funded public school, then I promise you they would have gotten 2 years or more. They probably would have gotten 5 years. Just saying. All right, that's all I have. KIRWKC.com, main podcasting platform. This podcast is carried on Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Overcast, Bullhorn, Amazon Music, Audible, and several other podcasting platforms. Please feel free to listen to this podcast on whatever platform is most convenient for you. KIRWKC on all the social media platforms. Until next time, be blessed.